Yeah, I'm Micah. I wrote a book and self-published it, and it did pretty well on Amazon. Bam, I'll put it right there. I also publish a anthology every year, a horror anthology with a bunch of awesome authors, and it does really well, and it's all for charity. And now I help other people publish books, new authors getting into the self-publishing sphere. I help them do that, and every Friday I get to kick it with my girl and talk about all the awesome things. I like long walks on the beach, and I am 25 years old. Okay. Your turn. Go. We got
Okay.
2 minutes for an intro.
Okay. Chelsea here. I write books. I like to write dark epic fantasy. I show up on a couple of the anthologies Micah has done. Hopefully this year again. Let's just be honest. I have written The Blood of the Lion, The Mark of the Dam, The Dance of Destiny. Now, The Scars of the Wicked is coming out here. I am just pointing, hoping that it all works out. So, that being said, I've done a few short stories. I have written a dark kids book that is, I'm not sure if it's kids friendly, let's be honest.
Oh, it's great. It's very kids friendly.
Yeah.
Very kids friendly.
And I am a coffee addict and will find any way to drink my coffee. And I like music. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Speaking of poo stories, because that's often what we do. I have told you that I had an issue in my younger years with IBS, right?
Yes, you have.
Yeah, okay. So this one time in particular, my wife and I and some friends, this was pre-children, so we were in our early 20s.
Okay.
We're sitting at Steak and Shake, which is a kind of like Winstead's. I don't know, it might be a local or regional thing, but great burgers, great fries. They're not around anymore.
Yeah.
More's the shame. But we were sitting there having our, of course, this is when I was young too, so I could eat cheeseburgers and fries and shakes and not worry about it. Except for with my stomach because I had IBS. So we're sitting there talking. All of a sudden, it hits, and when it hits, man, it hits. Because like even a normal person without IBS, when she be calling, you gotta answer,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So with IBS, it's like tenfold, right? So she be calling, and I don't like pooing in public. It's like I need my private time.
I get it.
Yeah, I need my personal space. So I'm trying to sit there and be comfortable. We're having conversation. All of a sudden, I'm starting to sweat. Like she's knocking, right? So I'm like, oh man, I gotta bounce. I've held it as long as I can. I bolt to the restroom, run into the stall. There's 2 stalls. I pick the left one and run into the stall. Drop trowel, and I blow butt. Like I just, it's on, man. And so I'm she takes care of business, and I'm sitting there just kind of recovering, right?
Because your gut will like lock up.
Yeah. Got that bubble gut, and I'm just like, is there anything else? Just kind of chilling, kind of relaxing, and all of a sudden, the door opens, and 2 girls walk in, cracking up. They're cheesing, they're cracking up. I look through the crack. They're big girls. They're just laughing, having fun. I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the women's restroom."
No.
I look over by the toilet paper, and there's like a tampon trash place. I'm like, "Oh, son of a gun! Oh no!" So now I'm freaking out. Like, what do I do? And so one of the girls is like, "I got to take
God.
over the stall next to me." She blows butt. And like I'm talking like it's freaking Steak and Shake, man. You're gonna blow butt, but she blows butt hard, and just like I'm sitting there. Then like the textures of aroma begin to mix, and this is chick poo. I don't. There's something different, man. There's something different about chick poo. There's something different about this. This is an intimate place I'm not supposed to be, and I'm still sweating, and still got the bubble guts, and I am intruding on this most intimate place, and I'm like, oh gosh, dude. So like I have to wait it out. I can't leave.
No.
I have to wait it out. Well, her homegirl is out there waiting by the sink. Apparently, she got to go too. So after this girl gets done, other girl goes in, takes care of her business. I'm sitting here all through it, just like just like waiting, just waiting. I'm like, how am I even gonna get out of here? Like, it could be like a steady stream. So finally, they get done. They wash their hands. They leave. I'm like, okay, give it a minute. Then I jump up. I run to the sink. I wash my hands real quick because I just felt so gross, so dirty. And then somebody opened the door. I jumped back into the stall and slammed the door. I jumped back into the stall, slammed the door. So it was another chick. It was an older woman. She come in. She handled business. It wasn't a poo. It was just a pee. I don't know how details we need to get here, but that is one of the details. So she washes her hands. Goes. So I as soon as she goes, I go out. I look out. I peek out, and there's multiple families just sitting right there. I'm like, my gosh, dude. So I wait until I think nobody's looking. I jump out the women's door. And I turn left and jump right into the men's door. Right. And then I kind of open the men's door and I casually walk out. And yeah, that's my poo story for the day. I hadn't told one in a couple weeks, so there's your poo story for the day.
Oh my god, the horror!
Yeah. It was horrific. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. My wife and my friends were they were grossed out. Number one, but number two, they wouldn't let me live it down. It was pretty good.
Like, two things. One, you had to poop in public.
Yes.
Which I understand. Like, I don't even care. Like, I don't care what emergency is going on down there. Like, I will freaking war it out until I get home. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, cold sweats. I don't care. Like,
yep, had those.
So I
had
get
those,
it. I get it. Two, you had to go in the other bathroom, which, like, that taboo stigma where you're like, oh my god, I'm in the wrong bathroom.
Right.
Like,
it was so. Yeah, I felt so dirty. Like I felt so gross. And then not only that, but like two big old girls handling some business, like with me just sitting there. It was not a fun time.
Did the second girl have to take a crap?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So you were in a really special moment.
Yeah, it was a special moment shared between the three of us. That all three of us will never forget. They don't know about it, but that still, I think, somewhere in their soul, they remember me.
Yeah. Dude, you have to wonder. They must have walked out going, "Who was in the other stall?"
Oh yeah,
because
why were they there for so long?
Yeah, the other girl had to take a crap. She's like looking, and she's like, "Why is nobody coming out of that?"
Right,
like,
right.
And so they talk about that probably to this day.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure. That's why I was so scared to go out in case they were sitting somewhere where they would see me. That's why I ducked into the men's room real quick, and then casually walked out of the men's room. So
casually just open the door.
Yeah, like nothing to see here. Just another day of Steak and Shake. Don't worry about it. So, sorry to open the episode that way, but I was just thinking about it the other night. I was like, that was funny. I laughed. Chelsea will probably laugh, and yeah, here we are.
That is glorious. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. God. So how was your week of writing been? You've not necessarily been on a writing tear because you're supposed to be editing, but have you been editing?
I edited on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
One of those days. And I got like 50 comments done. Like, it was a major like binge edit, and it was awesome.
Out of how many are you working on? Do you know?
It was 190.
Cool.
So, and yeah, that was, and a lot of them were just clarification questions and line editing things that I looked back and I'm like, gosh, how much I've grown in even just a year. Where I look at these comments, I'm like, dude, if I looked at this now, if I submitted this now, those comments wouldn't exist.
That wouldn't either. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's so interesting about revisiting this query project, is to reflect and see just the growth in just the year.
Yeah.
Because these development edits were done last July.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I kept saying I'm going to get back to them. I'm going to get to them, because I was in the stories mindset. But then I started writing book 4. And then obviously book 4, when you start working with a beast that big, it consumes you.
Oh, absolutely.
And, and book 4 consumed me for the rest of the year.
And not only book 4, but also then in the middle of book 4, you had this wild crazy idea, write an offshoot, a one-off of in that world, but a totally like a standalone. And so then you had that going on too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was like eating me up. Like and this is a shout out to Bergen, HD Bergen, but she had created that, she had talked about a vision board.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I've shared it specifically on this show, but I had
You've
created a
talked
vision
about
board.
it, but I don't think we've ever seen it. Do you
No,
have it to where we can see it?
I'd have to get the camera and
Well, okay, so just take a picture of it or whatever and send it to
yeah,
me, and I'll pop it up here. Boop. And
yeah,
yeah, so people can see it. Cool,
beautiful. I'll do that.
cool.
And it's like, so HD Bergen inspired me to do that, which was just prioritizing what mattered most to you in your writing journey.
Okay,
And I knew there were some big ticket items I wanted to do, especially when that standalone was brought up. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to mentally wrap my head around all this? Because there's so
right.
much I want to do. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I start to, if I can't see it visually written down, I start to like overthink everything.
Oh
And then
yeah,
I'm like, oh, it all has to be done tomorrow. And you're like, no, it freaking doesn't, bro. You've got like 9 months left in the year.
yeah.
Like, chill. So I created this with inspiration from her. And one of those ticket items was the query project. And I
Oh,
knew it was eating me up. I was like, you have to revisit this. Like, the standalone was one of them. And the edits are being done, right? And I'm like,
right.
okay, you did that. You wrote the freaking book. And then one of the other ticket items, release book 4, that's done. So I'm down to 3 big ticket items that are very important to me to do this year: the query project, release the standalone, and write the draft for book 5.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, and even if that means book 5 isn't going to be released until next June, which I hope
Yeah,
it's not, but I'm giving myself that grace because I'm prioritizing some other big ticket items.
sure. Yeah.
So that being said, query project was a big one. And last Friday, after I sent the manuscript, the standalone, to the editor, I could not. It was freaking me out. Like, even on my weekly list, I was like, look at the edits and see what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Like, does it suck? Did you get creamed on the first 3 pages? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I did on Friday. And that's when I texted you. I was like, I opened up my query project to edit. And I actually ended up doing like 10 comments because I was just starting to look at it, get in the mindset, and just kind of get back in that world.
Yeah.
Because those characters, they were so loud when I wrote that story. And it was just like they've kind of taken a back seat. And
Right. Right.
it's been really cool kind of revisiting that and getting
Yeah.
back in that mindset and being like, what is this story going to be about?
Yeah.
Because it really is more of a hero driven story of sacrifice and what you're willing to do to save what you believe in. And
Yeah.
that's what the story's about. So
Awesome.
getting back into that mindset, I was like, okay. And then Monday or Tuesday, whichever day it was, I sat down and I just knocked out a bunch of edits.
Awesome.
Now I do have an announcement to tell you.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yesterday, and I was like,
Drum roll, please. Okay. Yeah.
yesterday, and I was like, I'm just gonna tell him when I'm on here, the editor that you're working with. And I said, I want to work with her for the query project.
Yeah.
I booked with her.
Did you? Excellent.
I just
Very
gave
good.
her a kind of like a 2-week stretch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna know until closer toward the end of May.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's so important to me to get to start querying this in the summer. Like, it's almost eating me alive.
I
I don't.
didn't know you were that far along in the query project to so is the is it technically done? Like you've written the end?
Oh yeah, the end.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So the draft
Awesome.
was all done. And I had rewritten that draft 3 times in the
Yeah.
course of 2 years, and then sent it to development edits. And I love, love, love the ending, like, and the beginning. I'm like, those are such strong key points. And I'm like, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, but when I saw the progress I made on Monday or Tuesday, whichever day it was, I just was eating on me all week. I was like, give yourself a deadline, because
Yeah.
I almost feel like I would continue to put this off more because it's not I'm going to publish it.
Right.
It's I'm going to query it. And so I
Right.
feel like I have more time, but at the
You're
same
already
breath,
like
yeah,
buckling in for the long haul, right?
yeah,
You're prepared for a long ride.
yeah,
Yeah, so you kind of everything's a little more you can be a little more lazy with it, or that's your thought process.
It is my thought process. That's
Yeah,
exactly it, which is why it's like, what is today? I keep thinking today's Friday.
I do too. Yeah,
I'm so confused.
yeah,
But that is why I've been thinking about it all week, and I'm like, the best thing you can do is just book a time with her like sometime in June. Like I even brought
yeah.
you up. I was like, I said, I know you're taking on Micah's project, and I said, and I don't want, like, if that's your thing and you want to focus on that, like we can wait till August. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
And she's like, no, 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 no. She's like, I do multiple projects at once and stuff like that. And she's like, we're totally cool. I'm like,
cool.
okay. I'm like, because you were my priority, and I was like, I do not want to freaking start throwing that. Like, no.
Well, I was also going to say that I will you
I know you would.
if you back her up and
No,
take away my July 1st slot. Yeah,
no.
yeah,
I literally told her, I was like, prioritize him. Like, if you want to wait, we can do that. Like, because
that's
I
funny.
know there's going to be an overlap. Like, I literally was talking about you. I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever it takes for him to get his slot first. Like, I was like,
yeah.
he is priority. Like,
Yeah, no, she's already guaranteed, and she told me she works on multiple projects at once, and
okay.
that's totally cool. I like that. It probably keeps her fresh when she comes back to to each individual project. Sometimes I don't care how professional you are, how long you've done it, dude. You keep looking at words, and those words start to swim, and so it's good to
Yeah.
bounce back and forth to different stories, different people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, she was super cool. She was laughing about it. She was just like,
cool.
dude, you're good. I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
but Micah.
yeah. No, no, good, good. I'm glad, and I'm glad, and
Yeah.
I'm super psyched for that. Now, there is one thing I will share that I don't think people know.
What?
Was it last week when you were getting ready to send the edits, but you were like tripping? You
Oh
were
my
like, yeah,
god.
you texted me multiple times over multiple days.
Yeah,
Like,
bro.
I don't know if I can hit send. I don't know if I can hit send. Maybe I need to go. Maybe I need to go read it again. And of course, you who've published 4 books, 4 anthologies, magazine entries. You've done all this stuff. You've been doing it for years, and you're like, I can't hit send. That was pretty funny.
It was true though. Like, I had a serious, man, that night was scary. I had a serious like freak out. Like, I questioned everything, and I have not felt that way. And I think I told you in that text, like, I have not felt this intensely anxious
Yeah,
about it
yeah,
since book 1.
yeah.
Like that. And I think it was just like, there was a multitude of things going on. I think, one, I'm working with a new editor. And so there, understanding her dynamics and everything like that makes me anxious because I don't know what to expect.
Right.
Um, and then
She
on
does
top
seem
of
cool
that,
though, right?
she's so cool.
She
She's so
seems
cool.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super stoked to work with her too. She seems
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's yes. And
yeah,
then on top of that, it was a standalone with brand new
yeah,
characters, brand new storyline. And so it just kind of like combusted. And I was like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
You were straight tripping, dude. Yeah,
Like
it was.
the anxiety I was feeling all day leading up to that, like in my heart, I was
Yeah,
freaking out. And then I
yeah,
kept thinking, you're good, you're good, you're good. And then
yeah,
that night, because I had emailed, I was like, how do you want this to send the whole thing over? And she's like, yes. And I was like, I can't do it.
yeah. I know. It was. I kept talking her down, talking her off the ledge. She's like, yeah,
Oh God.
you were straight tripping.
Dude, I was like having a massive, and I think so part of that happened. I had this major crash afterwards where I was just like, for 3 days, I'm like, dude, like, you were thinking, okay, on Sunday, let's sit down and work through the
Right.
website stuff. And I was like, I can't. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what happened. I was like, my brain broke.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I need a
No,
minute.
yeah, yeah, we can let's sit down on Saturday, get your chat bot going, get some updates on your website. And I expected you to say, yeah, bro. You were like, no, not happening.
Like, it was just crazy. Like, Saturday I started to feel it, and then Sunday I was like, I don't like I cannot move. Like, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think that was on top of the fact that I was leading into a release week, and it was just like way too
Right.
many emotions going on, and the
Right.
stress of the standalone. And then I totally pressured myself about working on the edits on Friday a little bit for the query project, which I knew I
Yeah.
shouldn't have, but I was still running on that like fight or flight mode almost.
Right.
And so
Right.
I was like, just open it, open it, open it. And I knew, it was so funny. I was sitting here and I knew, I was like, this could be a mistake.
Yeah. 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 So how are the sales going for your first week? I know, and I'll tell this to everyone. Don't watch sales. It's fun to look at numbers and things like that, but success doesn't come in sales. Success comes in publishing and reaping the rewards of your hard work, and the rewards aren't necessarily all sales. So we're not really concerned with that. But like I said, the numbers are fun. Have you seen? Are your numbers good? Are you liking what you're seeing? Awesome,
Bro,
awesome.
insane results. Now, jumping off what you said, and I've said this before on this, but I went years not checking my numbers,
Right.
not knowing a single thing. I didn't know revenue. I didn't know anything. And that was just because I had to separate the business with the creative aspect.
Right.
And figuring out creatively what worked best for me. And as I've grown more comfortable with that and more confident in my approach with the creative side, I've grown more curious and welcoming to the business side.
Yeah.
And so this year, as I've said, is the first year that I've really started looking at numbers. And it's also the first year I've been a part of a lot of events. That
You
was
have been,
something,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was kind of bizarre because it kind of all fell into place. That February 28th one that I was a part of, which was massive, and I saw the results on that. And that forced me to really start looking at numbers. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I have to say, I have seen steady, continuous results from that event.
From that, awesome,
Yeah. I
awesome.
mean, and I've gone up a few reviews, I've gone up numbers, the page reads for book 2 and 3, like all of it. And
All
so I
these things
think,
that are years old at this point are
yeah.
now seeing new life because
And
you're
mhm,
taking that next step in the business side of things. Now that you kind of have the creative side down.
exactly. It's been super cool to see the results. I have been a part of 4 events now,
Yeah.
and just since the start of this year almost. It's just been, and some of them are smaller than others, but it's all about exposure.
Right.
And I am like, I had an out of body experience yesterday because I'm a part of an event right now, and it was so cool. One, the most collaborative group of authors I've ever been a part of. I mean, we're
Cool.
talking like 50, 60, 70 freaking authors, and
Awesome.
everybody is just like gun ho for each other.
Yeah.
And it is so cool.
That's awesome.
Um, and on top of that, to see the results, the long term results on that,
Yeah.
and to see that there's just been I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
That's just like, prior to this, I never touched events. I wasn't sure what to do. Now I have been a part of 4 events, and I have seen more success in this saga in the 4 months of 2025 than I have in the 4.5 years
Right.
ish since book 1 was released.
And
Maybe 4.
we should do an episode sometime on these kind of events we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I know that in our writing group, we have a thread
Yeah.
dedicated to that where we kind of go through that, and there's a lot of good information there. So if you're not part of the writing group and you want to be, hit us up. I think the easiest way to hit us up on Instagram DMs,
Yeah.
and we'll send you an invite link.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's good. It's been growing, but there's just so many resources on there that we've all collaborated on. Bergen, HG Bergen has given a lot. Brian, everybody really has
Mhm.
contributed a lot to that. So yeah, if you're interested in that, digging into those kind of events or anything really in the writing sphere, more on the marketing side or the creative side, or just getting support, yeah, send us hey, I want in, and we'll send you an
Yeah,
invite.
it's an epic group of collective support. I've absolutely loved it, and yeah,
I
join
didn't
it.
think when we started building it, I was like, and I think you were probably the same way. Okay, it'll be cool, whatever. I mean, it's just another thing to put on our plate. But no, it's awesome. And once the initial work was done, we're just part of the group.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
It self-sustains itself, and
Yep.
everybody there wants to help each other, and so
Yeah.
everybody is sharing resources that they stumble on or fun memes to get through the day.
Yeah,
Every
and even
yeah,
if somebody's, we had a new member just join last week, 2 weeks ago, and she was really struggling with sending this manuscript out to have it looked at, and you should have seen just the immediate support she got.
yeah,
And then the next day, she's like, "I sent it."
done.
So it's just cool. If you want some support, if you're a writer, if you want some support, jump on. Well, yeah, it's awesome. It's dope.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
could not agree more. So I released book 4 on the start of a major event. Amazing. Like,
Awesome.
I've had people just outright buy all 4 books back to back to back.
So good, dude.
And
So
these are
good.
real sales. So
Yeah.
because I'm outside of the window, I've used up most of my dates for KU freebies. I Some stuff your Kindle events do KU 99 cents or free. This
Yeah.
is one of those.
Yeah.
And so I have a 99 cents. Did you just die? Are you okay?
Well, you remember the cold last week that I was working with,
Are you
just
still?
starting to work on it. Well, it's starting to leave now. So it's settled in my chest, man, and I lost my voice for a couple days. Yeah,
Oh, dude.
it was one of those brutal like spring summer colds that just I didn't I have not been sick for a long time, but Decky has started going to a early development school, and of course he's going to bring something home all the time. So
Oh, yeah.
I was just the lucky one to get it this time.
Dang. And when it gets in your chest, it sticks.
It stays. And I wake up and like I'm just full of stuff, have to spit it out, and it's like goodness gracious, man, that is
Yep.
not that is not human. What just came out of my body, you know?
And you feel okay, but then like when
Yeah,
you wake up in the morning, you're reminded how un-okay you are.
right, right. And so now
Wow.
I feel fine, and all through the day I'll feel fine until I go to bed, and then I'll wake up in the morning again. It'll be like just all this like junk that is just settled.
Oh, dude, I understand. There's a lot of people I know that have gotten sick this year.
That's why I'm going straight to water today. Normally I have a coffee or two during the early moments of our episode, but nope, straight to water today because I need it.
Yeah, it makes a difference. I went too hard on the coffee yesterday and not enough water, and so I gave myself a headache despite being decaf. I did
So
not drink my water.
let me talk to you about that. So I don't do the caffeine. I stopped doing caffeine because my anxiety kicked back up again. And then once I was off of it, once I was kind of chilling on decaf, I was like, I'm just not going to do caffeine anymore. I have for the last few weeks since I've been writing at the coffee shop. The first time I went, I got myself a decaf coffee. It was fine. Second time I went, decaf coffee. Third time, I was like, you know what? I'm brave.
Oh,
I can do this. I can do this. So I went up and they started to get to know me, blonde hair and tattoos and I'm nice, so I talked to him and stuff. So she's like, large ice mocha, decaf. I was like, no decaf, calf that shit.
dude.
Should that be a shirt? Should we do a shirt like that?
Yes,
Calf that shit.
yes, please. With a cup of coffee with steam.
With steam and cup of coffee, and the steam turns into a dragon, obviously because things.
Duh.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, cool. I had it. I sipped it so slowly. I'm sitting there writing. I got through, 3,000 words before I finished it, and I was like, felt fine. Felt just fine.
Yeah.
So then my next one, because I spend all day up there now since I can work remote. I spend all day up there, and I usually get a chapter done a day, so about 5,000 6,000 words a day, which is great.
Yes.
So I get one regular in the morning, and then one decaf towards the afternoon. And so I just wanted to share. I just wanted to say
Wow.
that so I have been indulging a little bit in the caffeination, and it has been okay. My anxiety has been fine. I've been doing good.
I bet sipping it super slow makes a massive difference.
It does, and it did. And I think now that my body has adjusted again, the other day it was just too good, and I pounded it. Like I drank the whole
Oof.
thing, like in one sip. Like
Oh
it
my
was just
god.
too good. And still no, I will not lie. There was a little bit of flutters, a little
Yeah.
bit of that, and just there was a lot of caffeine at once, and my body's not really adjusted to it fully. But still, it was totally fine. No big adrenaline spikes, nothing like that. So yeah,
Good. I
yeah,
feel like, you know, I I don't know if I would ever do caffeine unless I was in a cafe and they gave me caffeine. And it
yeah.
was just like, because sometimes it happens, you know.
Oh sure, yeah,
Yeah, it happens a lot. But I've had situations where, and I feel like it depends on the bean because I've had situations where I'll have 1 cup of decaf or 1 cup of caffeine when I used to have it, and it would go right to the veins. Like my heart would feel like it was beating out of its chest.
hmm.
And then and this would be in a random coffee shop, right? But then I could have a cup of caffeine on 2 days later in my house and sip on it and not have the same results.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so a lot of, I don't know. I did have years ago when I was a barista and I was pounding caffeine, like 6 caffeinated shots a day. Like,
Oof.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was a bad dark time.
No
Uh,
kidding. Right. Right.
I don't think I ever recovered from that. So I was still in high school at the time, and that was my part-time job,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I would go and I would just pound it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, girl.
yeah.
Yeah.
I said that and I was like, oh God, my brain
Yeah.
was like, you
Right. Right.
said it.
Oops. Oops. And I'm gonna pay for that one. Yeah.
I literally was like, oh God, here it comes.
That's what she said. Wait, hold on. What?
What is happening?
What is happening? What's going on right now?
I blame you.
I blame Gabby. She's even though she's not here.
Gabby is
Yeah.
contagious.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
I blame her.
She is. But that's the thing. Like, I got to a point, and I was working there. I got to a point where I was working there like 6 days a week, and I'd go there in the morning, and I would just 6 shots of caffeine throughout up until before noon, and I know. And I got to the point where I was like, I think I feel kind of ill doing this, and
Right.
so I stopped coffee for 4 weeks while I was working there. I was like, I'm not touching it. I said, this is kind of starting to freak me out. I'm like, I'm watching people like drop dead from heart attacks at 18 at my school.
Yeah.
Drinking Monsters.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And so I was kind of freaked myself out, and I did that. But ever since I started drinking caffeine again, I can't go more than two cups of coffee without feeling it. And then occasionally that 1 cup will go right through to me. And so I love it. But that's why it's like, I kind of like, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever touch caffeine again, but I also love it. So
yeah, I do too. And I think the good thing is that I don't rely on it anymore.
Yes.
Because caffeine tricks your body into thinking that it, has this extra energy or that you're not tired. It's kind of like a benzo, if you're having an anxiety episode or something like that, it doesn't really fix anything. It just blocks the receptors. So, you think that things are okay, so it's the heck.
My dog, I don't know what she saw outside, but she just lost it.
Yeah, she is angry.
She was like,
dang.
Oh my God, that was funny.
So, I know a reliance on it isn't good, but a little bit here and there every once in a while, I think I'm okay with bringing that back in the system, bringing that back into my life just a little bit, because it is kind of like when you go to, I don't know, a breakfast with some guys and everybody's getting coffee, you might want to have a cup, but you don't want to you don't want to get a whole decaf pot, because you're the only one who's going to drink it, right?
Exactly.
So things like that. So, but I have been easing back. I didn't mean to steamroll because you were still talking about your
I love
2
coffee.
things. Yeah, you said 2 things. The first one was book 4 release during an event, and that has been amazing. Yeah. What was your second thing?
Second thing is I started writing book 5 again.
Okay, I didn't know if we were gonna talk about this or not. I didn't even know because yes, you as we've talked about for the last 10, 15 minutes, Chelsea has a lot on her plate right now. This is a very busy season for her, and it's only going to get busier because her and I are going to juggernaut this marketing campaign starting in May. So yes, it's very busy. It's going to keep getting busy. And she texted me the other day, and she's like, "Started on book 5." Are you serious? Are you serious right now? No, when I read your text, that's exactly what I picture. Yeah, that's the voice that reads the text to me. Hey, this is Chelsea. I started book 5.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So. Your response, your GIF was, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, just that. Just. Oh, okay. That's what we're doing now. All right, cool.
That was so funny. I had to tell somebody. I was like, oh my God. So I started writing book 5 right after book 4, and I got to a certain point. And the funny thing is I knew mentally I was writing it more out of therapy than I actually knew where the storyline was going, and most
Sure.
of it
Yeah.
was going to be scrapped.
Yeah.
I knew it. I've seen it happen with the last 4 books. I do the same thing. I
Mm.
finish a big book and then I jump right into the next one thinking I know exactly what's going to happen, even though I mentally know I'm going to scrap most of it.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with book 5. And so I ended up scrapping 90% of what I had, which was like 40,000 words. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it's, I don't know what happens. It's
That's
like a
rough. Yeah.
weird, but it's like I totally accept it. It's kind of a weird process I do for myself.
You were already prepared for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was going to
Yeah.
happen. And so
Had
I
you
was,
now had at that point had you already outlined? Do you already have a basic idea, or is
yeah,
that what you started this week?
I had a basic idea that I was letting marinate despite still writing it, despite knowing I was going to change it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, my process with these big books are weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I waste my time knowing I'm going to scrap most of this? But so I looked at all the outline work I had already done, a basic idea for the original draft for book 5, and I was like, I hate most of it. And so I literally started re-outlining last weekend and kind of working through some thought process, making a mega list of everything I want to happen in book 5, respecting the fact of what has happened in the previous books, which is something I haven't done yet. I usually kind of figure that out as I go, but I just made a list, bullet points with certain character names, right? Where I'm
Yeah.
like, this has to happen because of what happened in book 4. You know, this, a relic here, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, that's a lot more organized in my head. So I kind of have a better idea of what to expect. And
Yeah.
then I started outlining. And then I got too antsy. I haven't even finished the outline, not even close. And I
Oh, and
was
you
like,
just started writing again?
I just started writing book 1
Oh
for
goodness.
the first
So let me
chapter.
ask you, as of right now, what as of right now is your opening line? Since you started writing.
I don't even know. I have to pull it up.
We'll pull it up.
I will.
Now
I
we
will. It's
yeah,
so
we must
fun.
know.
It's so fun writing this, and you never know. The first chapter might change, but
Of course.
I swapped it with the second chapter. Where are? Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see. Here we go.
Here we go. This is it.
All right. Chapter 1, Bloody Paradise. Boots echoed. Voices carried to and from the monstrous halls of the Castor Palace, some louder than others. That was
I
it.
love it. That's not you can't change it. That is it has been cemented here
No.
in the annals of
The anals.
in the annals of the Indie Authors Unplugged. What are we called? I don't even know what
I
we're
don't
called
know.
anymore.
We're not a podcast, so
Yeah, we're definitely not a podcast. So, anyways,
yeah.
that's why I just wanted to put you on the spot there. That was funny.
Thanks. I just sweat and died a little bit
Yeah,
because
it's cool.
you know
It's
it's
cool.
fine.
Yeah,
It's why.
yeah.
So I almost wrote almost 2,000 words of that first chapter.
Nice, good job.
So I'm very excited to continue.
Yeah.
And it's terrible, but I'm like, do I finish the chapter today and then jump it back into editing? Because I kind of feel weird leaving it hanging. So I'm
Well,
like,
we've
what
talked
if I
about that
get
before
distracted?
too,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
stopping mid chapter for any length of time is pretty rough.
It is. And I'm like, I was right on the cusp of like a major discussion point, and I was like, oh God, like,
Yeah.
don't. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how I feel. But
Well, and obviously most people who are listening and watching to this are authors or interested in writing or writers. They understand that, yeah, that opening line will probably not last, another pass through.
no.
Like my prologue, I've had my prologue forever. I've sent it to you and everything. I just wrote the opening line to it yesterday. Did I share it with you yesterday? The opening line?
Was that yesterday or the day before?
The day
Or
before,
no?
yeah.
Are you talking about the dog?
The death of the thread being torn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
So that wasn't there originally. Never there, but I was like, I need that banger opening line. So that was a year and a half, 2 years ago that I wrote that. So,
that's what's so magical though. It's like, and that's where you have to remember, you start writing knowing fully well the first several chapters are probably going to change.
right.
And they should, because they're
Yeah.
going to change and evolve with how the story evolves.
Right.
And
Correct.
so, but if you can get into a mindset or a situation where you go, I know I at least want to start here or have something similar to it, then I think it's all about just getting those words down so you can get momentum and get traction
Right.
on where you're going.
Right.
And then come back and change it. Cause I think every single except for one chapter, one intro chapter in book 4. I have changed every single intro chapter I've ever written,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Rewritten all of it. So
Yep.
that's where it's like, I'm like, oh, let's see what happens.
Yep. Yep. So it'll change. It'll change guaranteed. But that's the fun. That's the
Yeah,
process. Yeah.
it is. It's all about getting it down. So enough about me, because I feel like I like ransacked this entire episode and I feel
Oh, you
really
did. You're such a
awkward.
jerk.
I feel
Ugh.
weird. Like, I'm like
Yeah.
gross. I'm like, okay, we've talked so much about my stuff. It feels gross. Okay.
Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like bleach, clean. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have made crazy progress on your book to the point where you're saying I'm writing 5 to 6,000 words a day, which I think any writer like bows to. Because when you can put aside time like that and create that kind of rhythm and know exactly where you're going, that is pure magic.
Well,
So, how are you feeling?
so that's what it has been. It has been rhythm, because I have set, and you know me, I am not a hard date person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like schedules. I don't like, I just kind of wing things,
Yeah.
But once I set that hard date of July 1st, it's like I have to get this done. So I have to start focusing. Focus, Micah. Focus. For anyone who's new, I have had the story in my head since I was 21. I remember when my wife and I were first married in our first house, didn't have any kids. I set up an office. I always like to write. I like to game. Set up an office in one of the spare bedrooms. And I remember going in there and sitting one night, and this name came to me, Iliadara, and she just has haunted me ever since, and her story has. And so I started writing this when I was 21. I'm 23 now, so it has been a long journey. No, I've been writing the story for like 22 years in my head, but it is now coming to fruition. I set a hard date, thanks much to Chelsea, and so now that it is a hard date, and there is a finish line that I have to cross, I have set a rhythm, and that rhythm is now kind of picking up tempo, and it's really starting to. I'm really starting to see the reward of the focus and the
Yep.
daily task of writing. So yeah, I'm hitting about 5,000, 6,000 words a day.
That's so incredible. Now, the question is, because you sent me a pretty dark snippet yesterday, 2 dark snippets from the same chapter.
Yeah,
And my question to you is, because you said I think you said something to the extent of, I didn't expect it to get this dark. Like, it started really light, the storyline itself, lighter, right, for epic
right,
fantasy,
right.
despite still being hauntingly tragic and beautiful. And then it kind of like evolved into what is a very dark scene. That did you expect it to, or
Yeah.
where's your thoughts with
No,
that?
so I knew it was going to get dark. I knew this character was dark. The whole story is dark, but there's always this light too. There's always this
Yeah.
beauty behind it. And I knew come chapter 7 or 8, when I introduced this character, I was going to introduce this whole different world, this whole different mindset. But the first 7 chapters are just so beautiful and just
Yeah.
so that classic fantasy, So to go straight from that into the introduction of this character, it was such a paradigm shift, right? That I
Yeah.
had to do to get into the mindset of this character in his part of the world. And so I knew that was going to be dark. So I started introducing him, and then it just went darker. And I didn't know it was going to go that dark. So I go into a thing that happened in his past, and that's the snippet I sent you, and I was like,
True.
this is heartbreaking, man.
I
Like,
love it.
yeah, it's so good, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to get back into it today. But yeah, so I knew it was going to get dark. And like I said, I have all 38 chapters pretty heavily outlined, so much so to where there's like it's almost like a summary of each chapter has already been written. I just have to go
Wow.
in and fill it out. So
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, it's getting dark, man. It's getting dark.
And that, but so interestingly enough, so you have the outline pretty heavily done. And
Mhm.
so for you to sit down on those chapters, you already know what's going to happen. So it's more like, not, you don't know everything because these characters still surprise you, but like
Correct.
being able to know how you want it to start, maybe a middle anchor to that chapter, and then how you know you want it to end, or some familiar, similar
Right.
area. And I think that's like the closest I can relate that to is when I was rewriting most of the Blood of the Lion during
Mhm.
development edits, and I knew exactly what I wanted to happen. And I would just sit down and it was just like boom, boom, boom. Like I just knew each chapter to a T.
Right.
And that's just like, that's the benefit of outlining, I
Right.
think,
Right.
is knowing exactly what's going to happen. But the process, because it took you so long to do that outline. I remember asking you constantly, like, where are you now? Where are you now? And you're like, oh, I'm still outlining. And
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
oh my God.
I basically wrote a mini story. Because the outline itself is about 30,000 words.
Just insane.
Yeah, the outline itself is about 30,000 words. So I had written, each chapter has its beats. The
Yeah.
beats are fleshed out. Now I just have to open and expand and flesh out each, and meld them. And it's cool because, like you said, this is a benefit of outlining. But you also, I think, as writers, we're always ready, or we need to be ready to accept that's going to change.
Oh, yeah.
You might scrap a few beats. You might scrap a whole chapter. You might change the chapter, the tone, the narrative, whatever. You might change this depending on what's come before and what you've learned now is coming after. So that there's still a lot of work there. Like I said, I'm giving about 6 to 7 hours a day to writing right now,
Oh,
which is beautiful. I absolutely love it. But that's because a paragraph can take me an hour sometimes, and then I can just fly through others. But sometimes a paragraph can take me an hour because it has to be so perfect,
yeah.
And so that's so. But anyways, yes, that's my writing has been going very well. I know that I'm gonna have less time to do it come May when we start our marketing promotion campaign. But yeah, but for right now, it's going well, and I've got another 15 days of hardcore writing. And I think, if I'm hitting 5,000, 6,000 words a day, then yeah, I think I'll be done by June, and then I'll have a month to go rewrite, go do rewrites and make notes, things like
Wow.
that before I hand it over to Homegirl.
So did you I have a question. When you started writing the Nick this chapter that was so dark,
Mm-hmm.
having done the outline, did you anticipate it to be so dark?
No, no, no. That came with fleshing out those beats.
Yeah.
It just, the world kept growing, and then then there was this cataclysm that happened that turned these people into something else, but this character never lost his humanity, but it was slowly taken from him by those who had lost their humanity because they were jealous of it. Yeah, all that came yesterday. That just came yesterday as I
Awesome.
was yeah as
That's
I was building it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I have another question for you because I'm curious, since you have worked so heavily with an outline and I have failed repeatedly at a proper outline. I am such a half-asser when it comes to making outlines.
Hmm.
It's maddening, which is why I made a list this time around to be like, these are just major points that have to be in because they are actually crucial to continuing the story. And you can't BS your way through this. But my question to you is, having used an outline so heavily as you have you scrapped any chapters yet? Or do you see a chapter in the future that you're looking at and going, I don't know if that's going to stay the same?
I did scrap one only
Okay.
because I was able to. That doesn't need to be its own chapter. That can be part of this chapter. So whereas the outline called for its own chapter, I was like, no, that can be done in like 3,000 words. So I can just move that over to this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
curious because I'm like, the outline process I have so much respect for because I'm like, you can get all your thoughts down and that's amazing. And my brain just doesn't cooperate. And
Well,
it's
and
like
I don't know
maddening.
if it's easier, if it's natural for people to do that, because
Yeah.
that's not really telling a story. That's like figuring out a story. But the way I look at outlines is like it's a roadmap.
Yeah.
You set this course, you draw your map, but there's no reason you can't etch in a detour.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't just erase a line and move it over that way. So you have to be fluid with it. But I will say I always considered myself a pantser when I did all the anthology stories and the horror stories, and even to a point when I did the urban legends book, although that took a ton of research, most of it was here's the research, now I'm going to wing the
Yeah.
story. But I really like outlining. I think it's, I know everybody wants to be a pantser now, and like, no, nobody wants to be an outliner, but
I
it
know
worked for me.
the trends out there. It's like, okay, wow.
Right, right,
It's like, do what works best for you. I love the
absolutely,
fact that you outline. I think it's so cool to see the story come to life so fast with the writing process
yeah,
after how much time you've spent on the outlining process, because at the end of the day, and Sanderson said this, it balances out,
yeah.
especially between the writing and the editing. You have done so much more fine tuning to the storyline before even writing it, and that's going to make a significant difference with the editing process.
Right. Most of the chapters aren't going to need huge rewrites. They're going to
No,
need line edits.
yeah,
They're going to need checks on grammar and punctuation, and maybe a certain character here or there, like we talked about last week. Maybe one of their mannerisms is. But as far as like development edit,
yeah.
there's not going to be much because I've been developing it for ages.
Yeah, I was gonna say for years,
Yeah,
literally.
yeah,
That's what's just so cool about that. I'm trying, and it's like I'm trying to take a little lesson from you here and there. I'm like, okay, try to
yeah.
get more organized and getting your thoughts together before getting too deep into the writing process.
Yeah, and
And
the
so,
outline started with a single beat.
yeah,
So chapter one, this beat, chapter two, this beat, chapter three, this, and then it turned into, chapter one is 2,000 words, chapter two, and so then 2,000 words is some people's normal size chapter, right? And so all you have to do is go in and just flesh it out, and I really love it. It is a painstaking, long process
yeah,
to flesh out and outline that severely.
yeah, I would definitely think that. But look at the progress you're making now as a
Right.
in the writing process.
Exactly.
You're
Exactly.
flying. I mean, 5 to 6,000 words a day continuously because you have that already everything figured out. That's
Right.
awesome. That's
And if
awesome.
I didn't struggle so much on particular lines, just wordsmithing particular lines just perfectly,
Yeah.
then it'd be a lot faster than that.
Yeah. No, I am so excited for you. So I asked you, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago? I was like, "Where's your word count at?" And you were about 83K. Where
Yeah.
are you at now?
So I'm about 87 now,
Okay.
because like I said, I've been going slow on this transition from the first 7 chapters to now,
To that
because
darker
I'm
stage.
totally, yeah, I'm in a different world. It's the same. It's the same map. It's the same continent. It's the same world, but I'm in a totally different mindset and totally different tone. And then this is only this one character introduction chapter. Then we go right back to this huge celebration.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so it's just like I've got to get into this dark place just for this moment, and then I go right back to the celebration. So
So, okay, another question, because I know you have multiple POVs. Have you thought about working on those POVs strictly at a time?
no, that's what blew me away when you tell me that's how you do yours. It just I can't wrap my head around it. So
Really?
the narrative I'm using is very Tolkien-esque. It's very
It is.
all-knowing, all-knowing, all-seeing narrator.
Yeah,
So yes, the POV may be from a particular character in this particular chapter, but it's not to say that you don't see anything else that's happening around you.
true,
Right.
true.
Yeah.
I
I
think
can't
that
remember
makes
what
a
they
massive difference.
Yeah, I can't remember what they call that narrative. There's a name for it.
Omniscient.
Yeah. Okay, something like
It
that. That
starts with
sounds
an
right.
O. And
Yeah.
so, like, you write in that O third person past tense
Right.
narrative,
Right.
omnis something, and
Is
then
it
I write
omniscient? Omniscient?
maybe,
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
but and I write limited third person past
Yeah.
tense. And
Yeah.
so I think that limited, because I have to be in such a specific mindset and how that character specifically sees the world,
Yeah.
is probably why I lean toward the keep the POV separate until I'm building the
Right.
manuscript.
And see,
That
with
would make sense.
mine, I don't have to worry so much about how that particular
Yeah.
character sees the world. I have to worry about how that omniscient narrator
Yeah.
sees the yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so cool. I want you to hit 100K by Sunday.
Oh, snap.
I'm sorry. It's a challenge. I have to freaking
Oh,
throw it out there.
snap. You challenging me. Well, okay, so Sunday's Easter.
Oh, I forgot it's a
Today
holiday.
today is watching Decky doing this, editing this. So I really will only have I will have all day tomorrow,
Okay.
and I will have a few hours on Saturday.
Okay, so let's stretch that a little bit since, life. I forgot, you know,
Let's do a week from Sunday.
week from Sunday.
Week
Okay.
from Sunday, I will hit 100.
Okay. Done.
Yep.
So by next time we're recording, which will be next Thursday,
Yeah.
I want to hear like you are a few thousand words shy
Yeah.
or maybe
Or
you've
I've
hit
already
it.
hit it. Or I've already
Yeah.
hit it. Yeah.
Cuz
Okay.
dude, I can't even tell you when you hit the 100K mark,
Yeah.
it is like it's freaking thrilling.
Yeah. I'm super stoked, and I accept your challenge.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Awesome. I'm pumped. One thing I did want to talk about.
Oh,
You shared a picture with me when you were getting book 4 already. You were on KDP and you were on Ingram, and you were setting up the price for your books. And
mhm.
that's all. I think that's a big thing to talk about with indie authors is where to price your books at. I actually saw a thread the other day where people were getting into a huge discussion. It turned into readers versus authors, which is always a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it started out with saying that this person was setting her ebooks at a more comparable price to now traditionally published ebooks, which traditionally published ebooks now are $15, $20, right?
They're stuck in
You
the
know,
agency model.
they're huge.
Yep.
But then you go. I like hardcovers. I do not like paperbacks for books that I'm going to keep. I'll
Yeah.
always buy a paperback anywhere, but if I'm going to keep and cherish a book, I want it to be a hardcover. So I go out and I try to buy a hardcover, and they're $40 now.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
If you're
It's
lucky.
yeah, if you're lucky, it's insanity. So you can't have those splurges, those fun weekends where you'll go grab a coffee, see a movie, and stop by the bookstore and walk out with
Yeah.
7 hardcovers. You can't.
No.
Can you
God, I
imagine
remember
going in? Yeah, buying 7 hardcovers now.
I
It,
remember those days. I had the
yeah,
freaking VIP gold membership at Barnes and Noble, and I
right.
would walk in with my gold card
Yeah,
and be like, "How many books can I get?" And it would be like 7 hardbacks.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do it all the time. But now you just cannot do it. So what it turned into was readers saying, you can't charge $15 for blah blah when you're an indie author. And she was saying, well, the big authors are, and I have more costs associated to my stuff than they do. So it just turned into this big back and forth.
Yeah.
And then you sent me that picture of your pricing and the what you'll be getting back in royalties, et cetera, et cetera. So long story short, that was a ridiculous preface to this conversation. But talk to us about your book 4 pricing model, how you ended up with it. Maybe we'll even share some images of where you're at and like showing the residuals or the royalties that you'll get from it. So yeah, take it away.
So I sent this photo to Micah because I think more awareness needs to be brought to the fact that it cost so much to print a book.
Yeah,
And then on top of that, you have the royalty cut out from the distributor, and then you get your fraction of a royalty. And I think Micah and I both agreed to this, and we've already said this to an extent, is that we used to be able to walk into Barnes and Noble and buy anything we want, right? 7 hardbacks. I used to
right,
carry the bag out and be like, on top of the world.
right.
And now if I walked in and bought 3 hardbacks, I would be out like 120, $30, which
Mm-hmm.
was, I mean, what? Excuse me?
Right.
And so the question is where is that coming from? And that's coming from the cost to print. And so I shared this photo because I want to bring more awareness to it. The fact that I'm trying to price as low as I can from a competitive standpoint so that those options feel more obtainable for readers if they want that hardback or they want that paperback, because even paperbacks are going up in price,
They
where
sure
you're
are.
like
Yeah.
okay, why am I paying $18 for a 200-page paperback? That's like, I can't even wrap my head around that when I used to buy paperbacks that were 600 pages for $13.
$13. Right.
Yeah, that
Right.
was the magic number. Like, holy crap. And now
Yeah.
you can't even do that. And that's because authors literally see nothing. They go in the negatives at that point. So, for an example, like let's say on Ingram, please don't come for me, mega corporations, because I am calling your crap out. But on Ingram, if I price my paperback at $17.99 in the US, and I'm not even kidding you, I will see 7 cents of profit. 7 cents.
Okay, so pause there. So you're charging. Okay, so not only has Chelsea put in months to a year per book, so let's focus on book 4. So she's put a
Yeah.
year into book 4 of painstaking work, of edits, rewrites, etc., etc. Then, as an indie author, she has paid an editor.
Yeah.
Then, as an indie author, she has paid a graphic designer for her cover. Then that graphic designer has to do 3 different prints, one for paperback, one for hardcover, and then one for the hardcover with a dust jacket.
Yeah.
Right. So 3 different prints. She's had to pay for all of this. And so we won't say how much that is, but we'll say that it's in the thousands.
It is.
It is, of course it is, right? So people have to understand that. So Chelsea has spent a year of her life and thousands of her own dollars to put this project out, and she's going to make 7 cents per sale if she prices it at $18.
Yeah, competitively.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is, now mind you, there is a wholesale discount that you have to also consider when you're
Right.
doing Ingram. Now, that wholesale discount, they optimize 55%.
Right.
If I were to do 55% of a wholesale discount from the original pricing, I would have to price it like $24
Yeah. Which
for that
again,
paperback.
retailers expect 55.
They do.
So if you do 40, because you have 2 options, you can do 55 or 40. If you do 55, which is what retailers expect, yeah, you're going to have your book, your indie book, is going to have to be up there at like $24.99.
And that is unreasonable. I can't even grasp that. As a reader myself, I would never purchase a book for $24. I would never.
Yeah.
No way. I'm sorry.
I mean, I would.
A paperback?
No, paperback, absolutely not. Zero.
Exactly.
Nope.
Thank you.
Nope, not
Yeah.
happening. Not
Yeah.
even yours, Chelsea McKenna. I wouldn't even purchase yours.
I wouldn't even purchase my own.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No, a paperback for $25.
Yeah.
Sorry, not happening.
Exactly.
And it almost comes down more to the principle at that point.
It is the principle.
Like,
I'm like,
goodness.
F you, dude. Let's can we please have normally priced paperbacks and hardbacks?
Right.
So that being said, I did not do the 55% standard because I refuse to raise my price anymore. I'm like, this is the lowest I can go before I'm in the negative, and they will not let me go any further. Right.
Which very well could keep Chelsea out of certain bookstores, off certain shelves, because the retailers are going to say, no, we want our 55%. So, so there's a problem there. She'll still be able to be on all the websites, for single purchases, things like that. You can get it at, Walmart or Barnes and Noble, whatever. But that's where that 55% wholesale discount comes into play, is from the retailers.
Yeah. And I just out of principle, exactly what you said, I cannot price any higher.
Yeah.
That's just I remember when I was releasing book 1 and my pricing, I could go as low as $13.
Yeah.
But at the time, Kindle books and paperbacks were priced a lot more competitively, where it was if you write this kind of fantasy and it's this many pages, you really should be pricing your Kindle or your paperback at this amount. Right. And it was more acceptable. But now it's there's so much inflation, and these cost to print prices are going through the roof with whatever model that they're using, that $17.99 is as low as I physically can go.
Crazy,
and that's,
man.
So I want to bring awareness about that. And so, for example, the hardbacks, we were talking about that. How freaking expensive are these hardbacks these days? To the point where you're like, why am I paying $60 for a 400-page hardback? Because it has a pretty red cover.
Right.
What is going on, people?
Right.
So, for example, buckle up. If I price my hardback at $36.99, I will see 39 cents.
Dude.
And for some odd reason, I can't go lower because I tried to do $35.99 and it went straight to the negative. So they're taking
they won't. Yeah, they won't let you. Yeah,
so that's as low as I can go.
That is just, and so I think the reason to bring this to light is to say that when you see an indie author priced competitively with, say, a traditional author, it's not necessarily that they're trying to make money. People, 7 cents. Chelsea's going to make 7 cents per paperback sold. She's going to make 39, is what you said, 39
39
cents
cents.
per hardcover sold. It is not about the money, folks. That's understand that.
Yeah.
That is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. And so I remember, so the hardback, for some odd reason, I have 55% on the wholesale. And I don't know why I did that, because I think there was the hardback they treat differently.
Okay.
And they take a bigger cut. And so
Yes.
regardless if I did 45%, I want to say they were like, I wasn't allowed to do something because 45%, the pricing, it was still in the negatives. But if I did 55% and I priced at that time, hardbacks are treated much differently.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody has specific knowledge on that, let me know, because I generally use 45%, but for some odd reason in this photo here, I have 55%.
Okay.
But now for the hardback specifically, but the paperback 45, what the heck? So the difference is, and I can recall this, is like on Amazon, if I price, I think it was like $16.99 that I was pricing at, I was going to make like 23 cents
Yeah.
on the paperback. I was like, cool.
Hey man, I got a raise, bro. I got a raise. I'm
Raise.
baller. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I just want more awareness about that, because
Yeah.
it is not easy as an author that wants to price competitively and have that exposure, because the higher you price, the more you turn off readers. And I'm only speaking that as experience, because as a reader and you can agree to this, like as somebody who grew up when books were much more affordable, it's almost difficult to justify certain costs these days.
It
Like
is.
Kindle books, go F yourself. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you're pricing at $14.99, you are so outpriced, it's unreal.
Now
Like,
let me ask you,
what?
because this is something that kind of came to mind as we were talking. Do you think that Kindle pricing going higher could be a strategy to offset some of the loss for physical copies?
I
Sad to
definitely think
say.
so.
Okay, yeah,
I definitely think so, because as you increase the cost to print and these physical copies are getting more and more expensive, which, let's be honest, you can't justify as a reader going out and paying $35 for a paperback,
right,
because, that's, you can't do that when 3 or 4 years ago you could go out and buy 4 books for 35 bucks,
right,
35 bucks.
yeah,
It's very difficult to grasp that. And
yeah,
so I think I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers for selling physical copies have gone down, just because the pricing has gone up.
yeah,
And I think that kind of goes in line with what you and I have already talked about, with ebooks being in a rise, Audible books being in a rise, just because they're easier, and they're at $14.95 for AKA Project Hail Mary, which is my favorite book of all time. The Kindle book is way overpriced, but $14.95 for the most part is cheaper than most other paperbacks out there now.
right,
It's
right,
like, it's very rare that you'll find an ebook outpricing the physical copy, which
right.
it does happen. I've seen it. I think pricing lower on your the Kindle books is the strategic move to do.
I still think so too. I've thought that since the very beginning, and I still think that.
Yep. I
Yeah,
think so too. It's especially as these prices go up. It's just like readers want to read, they want to indulge in different worlds. And when you're like, yeah, it's going to cost you your gas tank to freaking
right,
buy this book,
exactly,
your readers are like, okay, yeah, sorry. I
right,
can't afford that. And I
right,
can't justify that cost when I can buy 12 different ebooks for $2.99 a piece for the
right.
same
Same price,
cost.
right.
Yeah. And so
So
that's
I
where
do.
it's just like, yeah.
I do think that 2.99 is a very sweet spot for Kindles. You know,
Yeah, I think it's great, dude.
yeah, I think because the author still gets. I don't know. I think we're into dollar range at that point.
I
So
think
we
you do
actually,
get like $1.20 or something
yeah. So
like
we're
that.
in dollar range at that point. So the author does actually get a little bit of payout on that. Not much, not what they deserve, but they get a little bit of payout. But more readers can justify that, so you can get that exposure, you can get that readership, and that really is what it's all about, is getting that readership and getting and building that community around this world that you've loved and adored and bled and lost slept for and written for all these years. You can share that with people.
Yeah.
Whereas if things are priced at $15, goodness gracious, I can't imagine, unless you end up getting TikTok, famous. Some influencer flashes your book around, and then But that again, that's don't bet on that, right?
No.
Don't. Yeah, that's a gamble. So
It's a massive gamble.
yeah,
Yeah, that's I would say $2.99, and I dare say don't go any higher.
yeah,
I saw a thread just maybe a few days ago where somebody posted in this, it was in a Facebook group chat or group thing, and they said, I published my first book. It's my ebook. I priced it at $30. And the authors went in and destroyed this person. And
goodness
I thought,
gracious, what?
I was like, okay, hold up, everybody. Like, take a breath. Like, be nice about it. Like, I don't think this person actually had any knowledge. And it was a poetry Kindle book. It wasn't even like,
That ain't gonna sell anything, anyways.
yeah.
So, oh wow, what? I'll cut that out. That's just mean. That's just mean.
But it was like, it was kind of insane because all these authors showed up and they just started freaking ripping this debut author apart.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, everybody, take a breath, because a lot of that knowledge isn't made public. A lot of the
Right.
knowledge we share has been trialed and errored.
Right. Well, and
And
that as indie authors, that's how you learn and how you grow, is that you make mistakes. You
yeah,
do learn through trial and error.
you
That's
do.
right. And I think $2.99 is such a great spot too, because then it leaves you room to do events, to do sales. You can go from $2.99 to 99 cents, and it looks like a good sale.
Yeah.
So but then you can go right back. You can kind of fluctuate. Then you can go free, and it's like just the word free. So I like the $2.99 range, and it's just more digestible by
It
the
is.
masses.
In this day and age, you shouldn't go any higher. And
Yeah,
I hate to say that because 4 years ago, ebooks were fantasy epics were priced at $8.99 on
yeah,
Kindle. That was standard.
yeah,
And it was almost expected.
yeah,
And now it's through the roof.
yeah.
And now, because of all these high increased prices, now you have to competitively price lower in order to get that exposure. And
Right,
so that's where it's like $2.99. I wouldn't go any higher because you have to get into that Goldilocks zone of,
right,
I have great quality work. You can read it for a crazy good price compared to whatever astronomical agency model setup they have going on with the other Kindle books with
right.
trad companies, and the increased prices with physical copies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I ever since I dropped my prices on my Kindle books, I've had more success than ever
Yeah.
before. And so it's
Well,
just like, that's the way to do it.
so I can't remember. I think when Urban Legends first came out, the paperback was $16.99, and it stayed there for years.
Yeah.
And so then, like 3 years later, I was like, you know what? I don't need to have this cost that much anymore. So I went in to look to see how low. And again, this is only a 75, maybe 76,000 word book.
Yeah.
So I went down and looked at it, and I could bring it down to, at the time, I was able to bring it down to $7.99.
Oh, wow.
Not make any money off of it, but that wasn't the point. The point is that it's
Get
been
it
out for
out there.
3 years. If anybody else wants to read it, get it. It's cheap, and you can look at the reviews. It's a fun book. You can talk to other people about it. It's a good book. $7.99. I actually got an email from Amazon not too long ago saying, "Hey, you need to go look at your prices because you can't sell it for $7.99 anymore." So I went over and looked, and sure enough, just the cost of paper, the cost of print, whatever, I had to bump it up to $8.99. And
Oh, wow.
I'm still not making any money now. So it's priced at $8.99 now, and I'm still not making a dime off of it. So
Wow.
yeah, but kind of
Interesting.
crazy to actually see it in real life. I guess you could say
Right.
the cost of everything has gone up, and it actually forced me to raise it a dollar.
Well, and so that's so interesting you say that. That's what happened with me with Ingram. When I was uploading the final files, I looked at the cost for their different regions, like UK, Australia, and all of that.
Right, right,
And there were a couple on each, the paperback and the hardback, where they were saying we can't distribute here because of something that happened between when you uploaded the first portion of the book to now when you're updating the files, you're in the negatives. And I'm like,
crazy.
And so that's why I was in there. I took that photo, and all the yellow you see when I send that photo and we'll share it, all the yellow are the changes I had to do because those prices were suddenly in the negative, where I was like,
Crazy.
I was losing like 50, 60
Right.
cents
Right.
on each sale. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, the book isn't even out yet. Like, how is this
Yeah.
happening?
Right. Right.
So yeah. And so I had to go in and change the prices when I updated the files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild, man. It's wild. No, I'm glad you sent that. I'm glad we were able to talk about it because I think, yeah, authors need to be aware of kind of what they're looking at. Readers need to be aware of,
Yeah.
why these things are priced the way they are. And hey, if you're looking for a good book, you don't want to pay 30, $40, check out an indie author. You might be surprised what you
True.
find.
It's true.
Be prudent. No, prudent is not the right word. Be discerning if you're going to look for an indie author, because we've said this a billion times, but there is just some out there. So don't spend your money. Don't foul your palate with some crap that be out there. But but go support indie authors. You'll find a bunch that are very worth the
Yeah.
cost.
That
Yeah,
did
and
all the
the
right
journey.
steps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll really enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like that's a topic we need to cover separately too.
yeah, I do too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Next week.
There you go. Hey, we might have Brian on next week, so maybe. Oh no,
Oh
I
god.
think he said. I don't know if he said he was
Oh.
available or not, but we will
Yeah.
have him on soon. Do you want to take us out?
Okay. Everybody, go get yourself an iced coffee. This one is with caramel. It's
Ooh,
delicious. I
yum.
know. Homemade caramel.
Mm.
Yum. Yeah. Bye.
You can't buy yet. You have to ask him to like us and stuff.
I totally forgot about
You have to do.
that.
You have to do all that crap.
Hit that
Um,
thumbs up, everybody. Hit that bell, something with notifications. It's cool.
um,
We're cool. Hang out. We love
subscribe,
you.
subscribe, bell, like, yeah, you hit all that. Oh, the writing group. If you want to check out the writing group, Chelsea's books, go check them out.
Oh.
My book is coming out in December. Chelsea's standalone is coming out in December. And bye.
Bye.